Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to introduce you to my guest today, Ashwin Krishnan. Ashwin is the host of the Undercover Leaders podcast. He hosts amazing everyday heroes and heroines who lead without fanfare or recognition. As the COO of Uber Knowledge, he hosts tech and cybersecurity leaders on podcasts. He says, I am privileged to be working with incredibly talented folks to bring cybersecurity awareness and training to help close the growing skills gap. We have a particular interest in those demographics currently underrepresented in our industry. He's also a tech ethicist, writer, podcast host, and speaker. He speaks at conferences highlighting the need for a sharper focus on the ethics surrounding the technology industry. Ashwin writes articles and blog posts using analogy to simplify technology trends and complex topics like AI and IoT. AI is artificial intelligence, and IoT, Internet of Things. And he enjoys hosting podcasts with chief information security officers and other industry experts to bring awareness and practical tips to security vendors, enterprises, and consumers. Best of all, Ashwin is motivated by identifying everyday leaders and highlighting their goodness and positivity to inspire others. Ashwin's purpose, in a nutshell, is to empathize, educate, and empower in tech ethics and, most of all, human goodness. Welcome, Ashwin, and thank you for helping me out with those acronyms because that is not the world that I live in.
Thanks, Tammy. Even if it's not the world you live in, it's the world that you operate in. And I'm sure you have.
I know.
AI support everywhere, AI tools as well as IoT.
Well, thank you for joining us from your home office I know you're in California.
In Cupertino, Apple's headquarters.
Ah, right. Okay. So tell us, so Work from the Inside Out. It's a podcast that's all about all the different twists and turns of our career journeys, the decisions that we've made along the way. And I'd love to hear about some of your earlier years and what brought you to where you are today. So take us back a few years and tell us what those earlier years were like and how you made some decisions to arrive where you are today.
Yeah, great question. In fact, it's right off a video I published just about, I think, a couple of days ago. And it was exactly to the question of, okay, so what changed and why?
Yeah.
And if I go back 15 years, 20 years, right, whatever, right, I was on the treadmill to go up, the corporate ladder. So, and the way I put it in the video, which I'm going to steal from for this podcast, is it was all about identity, right? Who am I? And who am I is defined by what title do I have and what company do I work for? Okay, that was identity, which is okay. So let's say I was director at Juniper Networks, which is one of my prior employers. And I might have, let's say I was in a good place yesterday.
Yeah.
Director, drawing whatever X amount of salaries, having a office to myself so people can see I've reached there. And then today, something changed that made me feel inadequate. And looking back, what changed is, hey, my peer just got promoted to VP. And so my identity was shattered. And now I have to get back on this treadmill and run at a faster pace until I get to that VP and get back the identity which I had yesterday. Right? And then, so I said it was identity, it was inadequacy, and then it was the treadmill to infinity. Try to build
Wow.
another identity, and then the world says, hey, you're not good enough. I feel inadequate, and I go back into this word, right? It was I. Now, now to be fair, yes, it did allow me to pay my bills. I was getting medical coverage. I mean, so it's not a bad thing to have, but it's horrendous if that's the only thing in your life. And it was the only thing in my life, to be honest, right? It was all about identity.
Was that driving you, would you say, from university onward, or was that a message that you had even prior to that, that was the way to be successful?
Yeah, good question. I think I picked it up along the way, right? Back in my college years, it wasn't that much because I remember going back and I was reasonably clear I wasn't coming to the US to do my master's. I was going to take, I was going to go work. So I had some thoughts which I was executing towards. But I think once wife and I got married, came to the US, it became, and we were in this Silicon Valley, right? So it was
So you came to the US, I believe you said in 91.
95.
Oh, in 95.
Yeah.
And you came here to work here, or did
We
you
came here to work? Yeah.
You came here to work.
Yeah.
So you were already done with university and
Correct. We were done with our studies, and we were coming here to take on a couple of tech jobs. So, and we moved to. So we came in, and then to your question, I think what was happening, and again, this is probably something that the Asian population, Indians in particular, coming to the US, especially in the tech land, it is it's a it's all about competition, right? Competing to build the next startup, to go IPO, competing to get to the next ladder of career ladder, to be able to build a team, become a manager. I mean, you have these, and it shows up in various ways. It shows up in social aid. So, Tammy, this is an interesting one, right? So, again, back to the mind shift is you go to a social function or a networking event or something like that. What do? The first thing out of your mouth is,
right.
I am so and so and so and so company.
Right.
And for years, it was all about, okay, and then somebody else says something, hey, he's in a bigger company at a higher title. Now it's like, hey, the inadequacy kicks in, and I have to go back to this loop of getting to a bigger identity myself, right? So something snapped along the way, and I said, this is really not what I want to do, right? Interestingly, it was about the time I started. I was I think the second pilot group of Dory's recognized experts.
Oh, really?
So, I literally signed up. This was, I think, if I get my 2016 or 17, I believe.
Yeah.
I was in my last quote unquote traditional job, SVP at a late stage security startup, and I was like, is this really what I want to do with my life? Right.
So this was just a few years ago then that you really sort of said, wait a minute, is this who I want to be?
Exactly. Right. And along the way, I mean, I was trying to fight it, right? Which is, hey, no, this is the only path, right?
And this is the only path.
Yeah. So it's like, so, but I did the course, and it kind of just opened up my mind, right? And you know this, and I know this, being part of the community.
So this is like, I just want to make sure we're clear. This is Dory Clark's How to Become a Recognized Expert course, right? Correct. And I think, you know what? I think you and I must have done the course at the same time.
Maybe, yeah. It's like like I said, for me, it was like, hey, this is a different world out there.
Yeah.
There are wannabe authors, there are podcasters, there are consultants, there are life coaches. And so I was, hey, so it took me out of my Silicon Valley bubble instantly, right? So I used to look forward to this weekly event. It's like, hey, here I am. I mean, I'm not being judged. I'm the only quote unquote tech person in the room from Silicon Valley. Everybody else is coming in with a different perspective. I'm learning so much. And one of the things you mentioned in my description is that gave me the courage to start writing. And I put two and two together and said, hey, there are complex technical topics that need to be articulated in a way that are memorable and resonant.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that was kind of okay, so this is something I need to start doing. And to this date, I do this, right? It just, I look for topics and I say, hey, is there a way to convey this in a manner that the average person can understand? And even for the diehard tech audience out there, I've seen success over and over again because they're human beings after all. And if you give them something that they can relate to versus 20 other vendors out there saying how good they are and how they're going to beat the competition because of use all the buzzwords that you can.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of one of these light bulb moments. But I think along the way, I started another initiative. And again, this was still right after coming out of Dory's course, is there was I wouldn't call it a fan following, but I would say there was a community of people who were starting to see me break out, right? And there was a sense of curiosity. So that people reach out to me saying, "Hey, are you still at High Trust? And how do you get time to write?"
Yeah.
And so for them, it was like, what are you doing here, right? It's like, have you gone off the rocker? So I started this initiative called IPOP, In Pursuit of Purpose.
IPOP, In Pursuit of Purpose, huh?
And it was just, I just gave it a name, and I handpicked about 8 or 9 people in my network who were quote unquote following me very closely and were intrigued by what I was doing. I said, hey, so this is a no frills. There's no commitment needed from a financial standpoint. Just give me 2 hours a week and ask me any question that you have. I'm going to create a kind of a flow chart of my journey, like what we're talking right now.
Yeah,
I still have it in my laptop, and I said I'll just start walking through that. So gives you perspective into why I'm doing what I'm doing, and also gives you the a chance to ask me questions, and maybe there's some light bulb goes up in your own life that you might want to start doing something about it.
So who were the people in that group?
It was mostly, I'd say, a combination of ex-colleagues, people in my all were there were a couple that were remote. One was in India, one was in the East Coast. Most of them were people in the local Bay Area region.
Were they? So they were tech people.
They were tech people. They were all tech people.
Interesting.
Right? So I started doing that. It was eye-opening. It was eye-opening to me because I started seeing it was less about me. So I was just the stimulus, right? So let's say
right.
I talk about the fact that I had got laid off thrice in my career, and it doesn't get easier, but it gives you perspective into, hey, you have to be dedicated to your job today, knowing that you may not be having a job tomorrow. You just have to be comfortable with that discomfort, right? It doesn't give you the permission to be a lightweight and not do your job today, but it also, you shouldn't be wedded to it too much and say, hey, how could they get rid of me? I'm this so an important person over here. I said, no, it's like you just need to have perspective. So anyway, so I used to talk about that. And so that opened up their own thoughts in terms of, hey, so we feel that, hey, my manager isn't respected, so therefore I fear for my job if she gets impacted. Should I be close to her? I like her a lot, but she's not well liked within a peer group. So all kinds of things that you can't really discuss at work, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of became a support group, if you will, right?
Nice.
Of thoughts. And so again, my brain went off coming out of Dory's. Hey, I could be a consultant, right? So here I am, I'm a facilitator, blah, blah, blah. So I said, hey, I'm going to try to see if I can make this I could become a life coach, right? Or a business coach.
Yeah.
So I turned to them at the end of the 10 weeks and said, hey, we've had some great conversations over here. If any of you are interested in following up with me, here are my charges, and I could do a personal one-on-one thing with me. Nobody signed up except one, right? And so for me, it was a little bit of a shocker, right? And these people who were, like I said, it was a good community. And I thought at least I'd get maybe 2 or 3 to hang out with, right?
Yeah.
So I did a survey monkey after that. So I sent a note out to not just these 9 people, I sent it to a broader group of, I think, 40, 45 people. And I said, I just need 3 questions to be answered, which is, you've all been seeing what I've been doing, what I've been talking about, right? How much would you pay for a 45-minute session with me? Would you pay 99 cents? $100 or $250? I think 90% of them said 99 cents, right? So I said, okay, that's interesting. And the second one, which I think was, so it was getting more, I'd say it was a mirror into the soul. The second question was, if I sign up for your course, and we're talking about in first person for them, if they were to sign up for my course, it would be an admission of failure to their social circle that they need help.
Yeah.
Is that a blocker? And everybody said yes. And this is predominantly, I'd say 85%, 90% in the South Asian community, right? So
yeah.
The third one was, I said, you believe in truly understanding the purpose behind who you are and what you're doing, but you will come to me for help when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And everybody said yes. So here I was thinking to myself, okay, you're going to pay me 99 cents. You don't want to be looked like a failure within your social circle. And number three is you understand that you need to do it, but you won't do it right now because the house isn't on fire.
Right.
So it gave me a perspective, right? Which is to say, okay, you could have all the right intentions in the world, right? What you cannot engineer is people to actually make the move, even though you think you have everything and you think that they need to do it. You can't get them to do it.
Right. Well, I'm curious. You said that about 90% of these folks were Southeast Asian. Do you think that was partially kind of a cultural norm?
It is, right? But again, I should caveat that by saying within the age groups of, let's say, 40 to 55, right?
Okay.
Now, if I had gone lower,
younger group,
things would be different. But again, at that point, the relatability to me is going to be different.
Right. So generational, cultural. I mean, I think there are other people in that generation and other cultural groups who would also have answered that similarly. But still, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So it gave me pause to think, okay, so maybe coach can be kind of parked there for a while. But again, so I think, so going back to the video I was talking about, so I said identity, inadequacy, and infinity. And the alternate universe, which I came into, which I'm lucky I did, is again 3 I's. In this case, the I was really about intent. Everything has to be intentional, right? But the intent has to have an impact. So that's the second I. So what is an intention? What impact do you want to have? And then the third one is iterate. So the intention, impact, and then iteration. So the iteration piece is also something that I learned over the years. In large companies, you have iteration means nothing because you can sit in your job forever and you look at it and say, I go to this meeting, I come back, even if I make a change over here, it's not going to have any impact at all. Right? So people kind of myself too, you lull yourself into, I'd say, the minimalistic approach of saying, hey, even if I try to make an impact, it's going to ruffle feathers. There's political, whatever things happen in large organizations and all that. But once you're out of it, like we were talking about before, your life depends on how quickly you can iterate. Right? So you start with the intention, see if the impact is there, and the impact isn't there. It's maybe the impact is different than what you intended.
Right.
How are you going to change?
Right.
Right. So for me, it was like going through Dottie's course and going through this experiment with IPOP, and then just out of happenstance, stumbling into podcasting. And then the light bulb going off, because here is the thing, Tammy, that hit me, right? Which is, and I still go back to this conference that happened 2.5 years ago, and it's still so embedded in my mind. This was RSA 2018, one of the largest cybersecurity conferences on the planet, up in San Francisco. And so I had just decided to leave my job, right? And this was like, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to take on another job and try to figure it out while still working full time. I just need time off, right?
Yeah.
So I took off and going back to what you and I were talking about earlier, which is credibility and social proof.
Right.
Because I'd been doing so much writing, I was already given a media pass to these conferences. Not because I was an SVP at High Trust, because, hey, you're a writer, and therefore you're entitled, right? You write for CSO Online, IDG. So I happened to go to this conference with a media pass, right? Not without any company logo behind me. And as a result of that, I was getting offers of, hey, you want to interview people? That's perfectly kosher as a press person.
Uh-huh.
And as luck would have it, one of my ex-colleagues, his buddies already had a podcast going, and he had oversubscribed people. And he was like, I have to say no to people. Do you have, he's asking Fred, my ex-colleague, hey, do you know anybody who can help? And Fred said, hey, Ashwin is out on the loose. He's at RSA. He'd be a great podcast host. So Andy reached out to me and said, hey, I have more people than I can handle. Are you able to take on a handful of them? I said, I haven't done freaking podcasting in my life. He said, no, that's fine. Fred says great things about you. I'm sure you're going to be able to handle it. And so for me, that was the opening, right? And I went into this conversation with chief information security officers, chief privacy officers of the highest level, right? Ex-CISO of Bloomberg, ex-CISO of Home Depot. And the first thing I had in my mind was, I used to beg and plead with the PR department, marketing department. I used to be inside of companies. Give me 5 minutes with name brand CISO so I can actually get something from them to actually build a product that matters. And here I am with nothing. And I'm getting access to these people. So that was the first thing. I said, okay, let me get over that. So then I sit with Tammy, who was ex-CISO of Home Depot, and we chat for half hour. And she tells me everything under the sun, right? As to how she used to engage with vendors and how she detected the good from the bad and things that are so important for people who create products to understand. And so for me, it was, like I said, something is completely off the rocks over here, which is when I was in the vendor side of the house, when I could barely get to 2 levels below Tammy.
Right.
To even understand what the customer challenges are to actually build a product that matters. And here I am sitting in front of the ex-CISO of Home Depot and having this honest conversation, and she's loving it, I'm loving it. So I have to dig deeper and see if there is value over here, right? So anyway, so that's kind of how this whole journey started.
I'm just curious if, as you're sitting there realizing, here I am, I have nothing, and I'm getting more time with these people than I ever imagined.
Right.
Did you at any point sort of point that out to any of them?
I did. It's a very interesting ask that, because I asked Simon Gibson, that ex-CISO of Bloomberg, right? And again, these names are stuck in my head.
Yeah.
So I asked Simon, hey, Simon, why are you telling me all this? Right? It's not like we have the greatest podcast in the world and you're going to get 200 or 2,000 likes.
Yeah.
He says, so Simon turned around to me and said, hey, Ashwin, are you going to follow up with here's how we can help you and who can we call? And if I don't reply, you're going to reply again and say, hey, we haven't heard back from you. Are you going to send me those harassing emails after we walk away from this conversation? I said, no. He says, do you have any other agenda behind just understanding and communicating to the audience out there? I said, no. He said, there you have your answer. Because you don't have a sales agenda, because you're not going to harass me with useless emails after we walk out of here, and you have a desire to, your intention is to educate, and the impact you want to have is just to bring forth what CISOs really think and what their challenges are. Why would I not talk to you? So it was in hindsight, it looked so obvious.
Was that enlightening for you in that moment?
Very. Yeah. At that moment, it's like I said, like 20 years I've been on the vendor side of the house, and yes, it's all about, like, if I let's say you're a VP at a large organization, I'm coming to the room. My agenda is to tell you, hey, we're going to have the best product in the next release, and we're going to kick the butt of the competition. It's all about me. right? And occasionally, yeah, I'll hear something from you, I'll jot down some notes, but I don't get measured on the fact that I listened to you for 55 minutes out of 60. I get measured when I go back to office saying, hey, did you talk about our strategy? Did you tell how good we are against the competition? I just like, and if I didn't do that, so I had turned to my boss and said, I just wanted to listen. Maybe we have the wrong product. Maybe we have the wrong strategy. So unless I listen to the customer, I won't be able to build. They're going to say you're an idiot. The salesperson is taking you over there. He or she wants to advance the pipeline. And you're sitting over there listening to the customer. Like, what are we paying you for? But it was, like I said, it just changed the whole dynamics of the conversation. For me, just like, you know what, we all have to realize there are pivot points in life. You choose to ignore it or you choose to pivot.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, you know what, I'm going to find something out along the way. And yeah, it's just that's how this whole thing started. And interestingly, the job that I have now at Uber Knowledge, which is part of Secure Dynamics, came through one of the contacts at that RSA.
Really?
Who was a podcast guest.
Oh.
Right. So it's you kind of go back and you kind of look at these things, and it's just A leads to B and B leads to, and
yeah. So it sounds to me like a few years ago, you signed up for Dory Clark's course, How to Become a Recognized Expert. And it really created this pivot point for you, kind of, I want to say an epiphany, but I think you were already on the verge of that anyway. I think you would have arrived there regardless, and that Dory's course and the community that we've both been in since has really supported, you're continuing to kind of unfold or unpack this part of yourself. I think you would have gotten there anyway. You were looking for this. So you've really emerged from this kind of place of, this identity and sort of this cycle of inadequacy and competition and, rinse, wash, and repeat kind of cycle, right? And now you're still kind of in the startup or corporate world.
Yeah.
Still in that world that does that.
Right.
But yet you are embodying a very different sense of self and identity in that world. And you've really become a very established writer, established podcaster. So I can sit here and ask you what's different. I just answered that. But I want to know what's different inside, not just from the outside, because we can see what you're doing from the outside, but how did that evolve for you on the inside? Because I know that some of how this came about was you did take some time off and give yourself time to really explore this before, when you went back into a full-time job, you didn't do that lightly. You were very intentional about that. So, and I want my listeners to hear that, because I'm sure some people might say, well, oh, how nice for him that he could take the time off and do all this self-exploration. But, everyone has their own way of making these things happen. But I think that it's really helpful to hear how that evolved for you.
Yeah, it's a great question. I cannot minimize what you just said, which is circumstances are different, right?
Yeah.
And the thing, I go back to the IPOP thing, right? And what I told people was, you know what? Yes, this job might be important for you. Maybe you're the only breadwinner for the family, and or you're a single mom or a single dad, whatever the case may be. So I'm not for a moment underestimating or minimizing the need for a steady source of income and healthcare and other things, right? But what you can, so all I asked them to do is just a mental experiment, like fast forward 20 years, let's say coming up to retirement. Would you start pointing fingers at your kids, at your parents, even at your spouse, if somebody came to you and asked, hey, why didn't you try something different? And if you have the hollowness in your stomach, if you feel that it's a life half lived, and you start pointing fingers at, hey, it's because I had to fend for my family, I had to take care of my kids, elderly parents, I said that is wrong, right? Because you have to realize that it's a choice you made, right? And yes, circumstances were what was given to you, but given, what you cannot do is not take responsibility for the fact that you could have done more. It's like Michael Jordan, right? I'm okay failing. What I'm not okay is not trying. So that's what I told people, right? Which is, and so you can't point fingers at others saying, hey, I didn't try because I couldn't do it because of this. No, it's okay to say I tried 4 things and 3 of them failed, but I learned something through that one thing. So I feel it's a life fully lived. I say that's success, right? So for me, I think that was more of the thing is coming back to say, yeah, people are different, but you cannot not take chances.
Right.
And you will learn from that, right? So
yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think, it starts with also having to trust yourself.
Right.
That even if you make a mistake, you'll be able to pick yourself up from that. So you do have to have some level of confidence to trust yourself to make those mistakes, right?
Yes, I have to tell you this. Again, these are all these light bulb moments. So this was the chief operating officer of Juniper Networks.
Right? Juniper Networks. Yeah. So that was one of your earlier employers.
That was 2005 to 2012, right? And so the conversation is still so embedded in my mind. It's probably the year was 2007, 2008, right? So 12 years ago. Right?
Oh, that was a big year, 2008.
Yeah, it was. That's right. Yeah, it was the whole meltdown, right? But so Juniper headquarters in Sunnyvale, and there's a road called Matilda Avenue, which is a big road inside Sunnyvale, and it's so we had this pop-up tent, which is where all these all hands used to happen. And the pop-up tent would be across the street. So Juniper buildings were on one side of the street. We had Matilda Avenue, and we had the light rail transit service. So it's a wide avenue, and then you have these two light rail tracks, and we had the pop-up tent on the other side. At 10 a.m., there was a all-hands meeting that where Stephen Elop was supposed to address the 3,000, 4,000 person company. Right? And for whatever reason, I decided to, hey, let me go there early. So at 9:45, I'm at the crossing, just pressing the pedestrian crossing button. And there's a short person who walks up right next to me. And then we see on the other side, it says 180 seconds and counting down, because there's going to be 2 of these light rails that are going to pass. So 3 minutes, right? So he turns to me, sees my Juniper badge, and says, hey, so are you going to the all hands? And I turned to him and said, yes, and it is Stephen Elop, the COO of Juniper. So he and I are standing next to each other, 170 seconds, so 2.5 minutes plus. So he turns to me and says, hey, I'm Stephen. And I said, yeah, I know. He says, hey, we have about 2+ minutes to kill. Any questions you have of me? And my jaw just dropped. It's like, I'm a product manager. There's no one around. Here's the COO of the company. He's going to address the entire company, and he's asking me any questions for me. I said, okay, talk about taking chances. So I said, Stephen, you've been on the job less than 4 months. And Juniper back in the day was a very engineering-driven company, right? Like engineers had risen through the ranks, and Stephen was this outside entity who was brought in to grow the organization, right? So I said, Stephen, it's been 4 months, and you're completely shaking this organization to its very core. Do you ever have doubts, or do you ever have misgivings about what you're doing, right? I'm going to ask him, right? So he says, great question. Have you ever been to the circus? I said, yeah, I don't know where this is going. I've been to a circus. Have you seen trapeze artists? I said, yeah, I think I have. He says, there's only one kind of trapeze artist, right? And those are the people who are able to walk up the ladder, get enough momentum, fly through the darkness, not knowing where the ladder is on the other side, but having confidence in themselves that they will figure it out, make adjustments along the way, and go and catch the next ladder, right? So he says, I'm the trapeze artist who's now in free fall, right? And there are people who are looking to me saying, hey, we are going to see if Stephen reaches the other side. And we will only make the leap if we can actually catch the other ladder with our hand. We'll never let go of this. And he said, those are the people that will never become trapeze artists because they're never confident in themselves. The people I'm looking for right now, I'm turning back and saying, who else is willing to let go and be able to make the leap to the other side, knowing that they're never going to reach the other side if they continue holding on to where they are. I'm like, this is like, talk about going to business school, right? This is life.
Yeah.
We're all trapeze artists and we all want to reach the other side, but we don't want to let go.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, to answer your question, I think all of those things come to mind because you look at these chance encounters and these words of wisdom that just jump out of nowhere. And like I said, this was like long time, but obviously it had an effect on me, and I still recall it like
it's having an effect on me right now. I'm listening to this. I love stories like that of those chance encounters that stay with you pretty much the rest of your life, right?
And I keep going back to that every time I have this is one of those leaps. And ideally, yes, I want to hatch onto the other side. Yeah, I'm there. Everything is good. Now I'm going to let go. You can't do that. So either continue going on this ladder, single ladder of life, knowing that there are people smarter than you and younger than you are going to overtake you, or figure out, hey, there's a different path that you want to take, but you don't know what that path is unless you go into free fall. And you go to free fall, it's uncomfortable, it's dark, but you have to navigate your way. There's no other choice.
Well, and sometimes the people who let go aren't always smarter than you, but they're just less fearful than you. So, it's a matter of letting go of the fear and having that faith in yourself to let the rest of yourself express itself, right? So I'm curious, how did he end up doing? Did he do okay?
He did great. It's interesting, right? So and again, this is all learning. So he did a fantastic job at Juniper. Then I think he went on to do other things at a company called Nokia, which you and I have heard.
Oh, Nokia, yeah.
Yeah, so he ended up being the CEO of Nokia. But again, that's a completely different story, right?
Yeah.
I used to work at Nokia before I came to Juniper. So, so there was he didn't do as spectacularly as people had hoped for that he would do over there. Then other things happened, right? But for me, I think this is an interesting conversation because people are put in different circumstances. So for me, Stephen Alap, Juniper, that conversation. So what happens after that? What happens before that? What circumstances change you? I wasn't there at that time, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to imagine, right, as to what. But for me, I still think that what he did at Juniper in those 11 months, he wasn't even there for a year.
Wow.
Right? He shook the company to its core foundations in the right way, right? Bringing in processes, bringing in operational discipline and all that. And so for me, that's the Elab that I remember. So what he did after that in the company that I wasn't part of and how successful he was, it wasn't. That's and sometimes we get thrown off, right? Just like you kind of look at people and Steve Jobs, Apple is a perfect example, right? I mean, he's loved by many, hated by many. But you look at what you can learn from leaders and things that are forgettable, things that are memorable, and you do your own, right?
Well, and one of my all-time favorite quotes, which has been attributed to Maya Angelou, but I also know it's been attributed to another person whose name I'm forgetting at this very moment, but which goes something like this: is you may not remember what they said, but you will remember how they made you feel, right? Now you remember what he said to you, but you also remember how he made you feel. And, and I think though more often than not, we do remember how certain people made us feel, especially I think leaders, maybe bosses that we had in the past. And that's the way we hope. I think we hope, each of us hopes to make an impact on other people, right? And so, when we worry about, well, I don't know what to say, or how do I say this, or how do I say that, if we can just think about what impact we want to have, right?
Correct. And same thing. Yeah. The intention, what intention do you have, what impact do you want?
Yeah. So this is all very interesting. Very interesting. So I love this conversation because you are taking us on your journey in a somewhat different way than some of my other guests have, which is it's really about what it's meant to you, rather than just sort of taking us through sort of the chronological or linear journey. And I love that. I just love that. And so tell us where are things for you here and now today? What's your focus today, or how are things for you right now?
So it's a good question to ask, because I think it kind of brings into, I think, final focus as to how you got to juxtapose these, as we have multiple rings, like we're all jugglers, right? So I do, like I said, I do have a day job where I have to do operational stuff. And this is back to the training and services piece. We're looking to kind of help customers through cybersecurity training and privacy. So there is this operational aspect of things. But so again, and I say that because there is work that drives, right?
Yeah.
And luckily, the aspect of that work, because of, again, if you read out from my profile, right, which is the humanization of, so for me, there's an individual behind the next prospect of the customer that we're trying to engage with, right? And I want to get to know that individual. So podcasting is a way, and again, these are independent. I mean, we have the business. So for me, it's not about, hey, we want more business from you, therefore I'm going to bring you on the podcast. No, I want to understand it. Going back to the RSA conversation, I want to understand you better.
Yeah.
And it actually becomes a relationship at that point. And it's not a one and done thing. And lots of these conversations are on a monthly basis, right? Because we're going through, like, how did life look like 30 days ago? How are we doing it now? Yesterday, I was talking to the CIO of Nutanix, Wendy Pfeiffer, and we're doing a monthly thing. And she was talking about how somebody on her team came and proposed something that looked outlandish. And she was thinking about, hey, whether we should do it or not. Today, it's immensely successful. But then we went through what sort of culture does she exemplify that allows people to bring these outlandish ideas?
Mm-hmm.
She gives them enough of a framework to fast fail and or succeed and be able to, and how does that raise the bar? So these are conversations, right?
Right.
It's and so for me, it's like, so what, but I think my message is, even within your job, even if you call it grunt work, you call it, hey, I did do, you can find ways to tie that back to your purpose, tie that back to making it impactful and intentional, right? So that's and then the light bulb from my perspective, going back to Dory, is you can find avenues that really thrive, right? And that and so for me, this whole Undercover Leaders podcast thing just came out of left field. Because I'm doing podcasting for my job as a way to engage with the cybersecurity specialists and practitioners. So I kind of know a few things about podcasting. But this Undercover Leaders was an idea that I had 2 years ago that it's just been germinating in my head. And now all of a sudden, thanks to COVID, we're all more or less locked down, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing these undercover leaders everywhere. So I said, hey, how can I put two and two together? Okay, I'm going to start it off, right? So, and that's a virtuous cycle, because that gives me more energy to do my job better.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I talk to people. I mean, I talked to my first guest was Rana Pratap Bhattacharya, based out of Pune, India. The guy goes and he saved 140 street dogs. He goes and feeds 40 dogs every night during lockdown.
Wow.
He's taken a dog that got all four legs chopped off because of a train speeding, takes an Uber, takes it to the hospital, takes a personal loan to get surgery done. And now it's actually on four wheels, and it's living a healthy life.
Wow.
So for me, it's like, you know what? And so that fuels, so I can do more of my job more effectively, because I have this energy coming from a different source.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's kind of the full circle for me. It's like you just have to find these ways of things that energize you, and don't say, hey, I don't have time for that, or no, you will find time for that, but that actually help you in your day-to-day job. Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I would say as a podcast host, I have the same experience. I think it's energizing to learn about other people's stories and their paths and how they have developed themselves. I find it very exciting and energizing, and it puts a perspective on how you yourself can move forward. So if anyone listening to this wanted to maybe get some advice from you, Ashwin, a little bit of advice about making their own transition, what would be a key piece of advice that you might offer someone who's thinking, I think it's time for me to step into maybe a more authentic place for myself? What would you suggest?
Great question. So I would say, so for me, one of the things that have always helped me is something that my MBA school professor told me. Very weird, because we used to talk about this in a different context about financial modeling. But he said, allow yourself the discomfort. And it starts with allow, right? Allow is permission. Allow is loving yourself, being forgiving, right? So it starts with you. So allow. And the discomfort piece is, yes, you have to try, right?
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself permission and try something. And I again, going back to analogies, I want to finish off with this, is the whole artificial intelligence is based on data sets. The more data you have, the better you can. I mean, Teslas are getting better and better because they are more on the roads. They see pedestrians, They see cows. They see, in India, they see cows. And therefore, they're able to actually detect that they need to brake right now. And I say, and I have a blog idea in mind that I'll write someday, which is AI for the soul, artificial intelligence for the soul.
Oh, I love
that. Which is, you cannot make any decisions if you don't have enough data. And if you know where do you get data from experimenting. So if I say, hey, I can't be a great actor, that's based on zero data sets, because I haven't tried acting, right? So what I tell, again, so anybody who's think, I mean, everybody is in the tech world right now, whether you like it or not, right? We're all driven by tech drives us.
So, we are.
So I just say, hey, we're trying to make machines more intelligent by giving them more data. How do you make yourself more impactful and purposeful by giving yourself more data? And the only way you can give yourself more data is experiment.
Right. I love it. Well, Ashwin, how can people find you if they want to get in touch? Or
you can just hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to respond.
Okay.
That's probably the fastest. I have a website, www.ashwinkrishnan.me.
Yeah, and that'll all be in the show notes, so people will be able to find.
Feel free to
listen to your podcast. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your story and all your experience. This has really been really a robust conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Tammy. Thanks for inviting me.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Ashwin Krishnan. It was so interesting to speak with him and learn about his professional journey and interests. What is your key takeaway from our interview? If you are interested in any of the resources or links mentioned in today's podcast, you can find them on the blog page of my website at www.tammygoolerloeb.com. Just look for episode 089. Are you thinking about what's next for you in your professional life? Perhaps there was a thought or idea that was sparked by listening to today's podcast that you'd like to put into motion. Are you not sure where to begin, or you think you might like some support? I am offering a 6-session small group mastermind program for women who want to explore their what's next. You will get the information, inspiration, and support you need to get where you are going. Cohorts are starting on a regular, rolling basis. By the completion of the group, you will be ready to take on new goals. If you're interested, go to my website, check out my free 3 tips and 3 resources to help you navigate your career in a new direction to get started. You can find them at www.tammygoolerloeb.com/3-tips-and-3-resources. If you were inspired by this episode with Ashwin, please share it with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd love to read your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find through my website at www.tammygoolerloeb.com/podcast. Just click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. And who knows, maybe you'll be my next interview on this podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.